Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers obstructing, Fourth Amendment protections for garages, and failing to pull over for a traffic stop, and is brought to us by WXXI News' channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On April 22nd, 2024, Officer Cameron Crisafulli of the Webster Police Department attempted to pull over Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Dorley for speeding as she was driving home from work in Webster, New York. After Officer Crisafulli activated the lights on his patrol vehicle, Ms. Dorley did not pull over and instead continued to drive home. Officer Crisafulli followed Ms. Dorley to her home, and the interaction that ensued was captured on Officer Crisafulli's body camera.
Sorry, I'm the DA. I was going 55 coming home from work.
55 and a 35.
I don't really care.
Okay.
So you can call Dennis.
Can you please come over here?
No.
This is on a traffic stop, ma'am.
You can call Dennis Kohlmeyer right now.
Okay, I'm telling you why I stopped you. You didn't stop at all. Did you not hear my lights or sirens or anything?
No, I didn't actually. I was on the phone.
Okay, well, you're not supposed to be on the phone while you're driving either.
Yes, I am with the hands-free. Absolutely.
Why are you so upset at me? I'm doing my job. You just admitted to me that you were going 55 and a 35 on Phillips Road.
Can you please tell him to leave me alone? It's
Officer Crisafulli. Can you stay over here, ma'am? This is a traffic. This is a legal traffic stop. Do you have your ID?
No, it's in my purse. Here.
You have your purse right there.
No, this is my lunch. Would you talk to Dennis? This is ridiculous. Just go away.
Hello, sir. Ma'am, can you please stay at the back? This is legal traffic stop. Can you please stay over here?
No.
Ms. Dorley repeatedly refuses to comply with Officer Crisafulli's orders during the traffic stop. Under Section 195.05 of the New York Penal Law, quote, "A person is guilty of obstructing governmental administration when he intentionally prevents or attempts to prevent a public servant from performing an official function by means of intimidation, physical force or interference, or by means of any independently unlawful act." In the 2017 case of Murray versus Rudifer, the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York determined that there was sufficient probable cause to arrest an individual under this statute for interfering with an officer's lawful search of his vehicle by repeatedly failing to comply with an officer's order to remain seated on the bumper during the search. In reaching this conclusion, the court cited multiple cases where courts had found that officers had probable cause to arrest an individual for refusing to comply with an order from a police officer, including the 2012 case of Markavage versus City of New York, where the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over New York, determined that officers had probable cause to arrest a group of protesters for obstruction when they repeatedly ignored officer directives to leave a no demonstration zone. Similarly, in the 2020 case of Owen versus City of New York, the U.S. District Court for the Western District of New York held that a citizen could be arrested for a violation of this statute, quote, "for simply refusing to comply with the lawful order of a police officer and therefore obstructing governmental administration." Accordingly, it is likely that a court would conclude that Officer Crisafulli would have had probable cause to arrest Ms. Dorley for refusing to comply with his directives during the traffic stop.
Sir, I stopped her for going 55 and a 35 on Phillips Road.
On Phillips Road.
And she failed to stop. She drove all the way back home and parked in her garage. She's not complying with any of my commands. Ma'am, do not go inside.
Oh my God.
Ma'am, come outside. You can't just go inside. This is a traffic stop. Here's your phone back.
I understand the law better than you. Would you
953. Can you have a supervisor come to the scene?
No. Get out of my house.
When Ms. Dorley attempts to go inside her house, Officer Crisafulli enters her garage, and when she refuses to step back outside, continues to speak to her there. Courts have consistently held that garages, particularly garages that are attached to homes, are part of either the home itself or the so-called curtilage of the home, and therefore fully entitled to Fourth Amendment protection. As the Supreme Court explained in the 1987 case of U.S. versus Dunn, quote, "The general rule is that the curtilage includes all outbuildings used in connection with a residence, such as garages, sheds, and barns connected with and in close vicinity of the residence." Accordingly, it is likely that a court would find that Officer Crisafulli could not follow Ms. Dorley into her garage without a warrant or exigent circumstances to justify a warrantless entry. In the 2021 case of Lang versus California, the Supreme Court discussed a similar situation where an individual did not pull over after an individual activated his lights to stop him, and instead continued to his driveway and entered his attached garage. The officer followed the driver into the garage garage and, observing signs of intoxication, arrested him for driving under the influence of alcohol. The driver argued that the officer violated the Fourth Amendment by entering the garage without a warrant, and the state contended that the entry was permissible because the officer had probable cause to arrest the driver for the misdemeanor of failing to comply with a police signal, and that the pursuit of a fleeing misdemeanor suspect always qualifies as an exigent circumstance allowing warrantless entry. The Supreme Court disagreed with the state's argument and held that while, now quoting, a great many misdemeanor pursuits involve exigencies allowing warrantless entry, the Fourth Amendment did not support a categorical rule authorizing the police to pursue fleeing misdemeanants into their home under all circumstances. Rather, the question of whether an officer has exigent circumstances to enter a home to pursue a fleeing misdemeanor suspect turns on the particular facts of the case. In reaching this conclusion, the court noted that the so-called exigent circumstances exception to the warrant requirement applies only when, now quoting, the exigencies of the situation make the needs of law enforcement so compelling that a warrantless search is objectively reasonable, and explained that, now quoting again, an officer, for example, may enter a home without a warrant to render emergency assistance to an injured occupant, to protect an occupant from imminent injury, or to ensure his own safety. So, too, the police may make a warrantless entry to prevent the imminent destruction of evidence or to prevent a suspect's escape. Ultimately, the court determined that the Fourth Amendment required a case-by-case assessment of the exigencies arising from misdemeanant's flight, arguing that, quote, that approach will in many, if not most, cases allow a warrantless home entry. When the totality of circumstances shows an emergency, the police may act without waiting, but the need to pursue a misdemeanant does not trigger a categorical rule allowing home entry, even absent a law enforcement emergency. When the nature of the crime, the nature of the flight, and surrounding facts present no such exigency, officers must respect the sanctity of the home, which means that they must get a warrant. In this situation, it is possible that a court could find that Ms. Dorley's failure to pull over, her attempt to retreat inside her home, and her refusal to comply with Officer Crisafulli's orders during the traffic stop provided sufficient exigent circumstances to authorize his entry into the garage. However, there is also a strong argument that there was no emergency situation that required him to follow her into the garage to continue to attempt to effectuate the traffic stop.
Just don't understand the hostility towards me. I'm doing my job.
No, you're being...
How am I being...
I am the DA of Monroe County.
I understand
Yes,
that, but that doesn't give you a right to go 55 and a 35. And you even admitted to me that you went 50. I understand that, ma'am. I understand that.
You know what? If you give me a traffic ticket, that's fine. I'm the one who prosecutes it, okay? Just go ahead and do it.
I just don't understand the hostility. I understand you're coming home from work.
And half the time I was on the phone with Dennis telling him, why are you pulling me over?
If it is hands-free, that's great. But at the end of the day, you're going 55 and a 35. That's 20 miles over the speed limit.
Okay. You know what I've been dealing with all day? 3 murders in the city. And do you think I really care if I was going 20 miles over the speed limit?
Okay, I'm just doing my job. If you pulled over when you saw my lights, which obviously you did.
If you ran my plates.
I didn't run your plate. I just called your plate out. And then I'm following you because you're not stopping. Just come outside over here.
No, I'm not going outside.
Okay. Well, I'm having a supervisor come because that's what my chief told me to do. Do you have your driver's license?
I just showed you my driver's license.
You show me your badge.
With EMS, a 14-year-old having a seizure, 200.
She's a DA.
Yep, I know.
And I was just trying to pull into my driveway. I'm almost home.
Ma'am, I understand you were going home, but I started my lights back at Phillips Road. We have bad days also.
My license back?
I'm going to just add it to the job real quick.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Supervisor's on his way, and then we'll go from there.
Supervisor's coming out here.
Huh?
Who?
Sergeant Johnson.
And I'm going to go in the house. Seriously, this is ridiculous.
No, this is a traffic stop, and you, out of everyone, should know that if there's a legal traffic stop, which I have the right to detain you until this is done.
Then just write me the ticket. I really don't care.
Well, then just hang out at the back of the car.
Because I'm the one that's going to prosecute myself. You know what I'll do with the ticket?
Okay, just come out here for me and just stand.
I'm not walking out there. I'm not.
Corey, you just want to stand up here. Sergeant on his way.
Because you said 10-4.
Okay.
So, it could be.
This is what my chief wants. You called him. I spoke to him on your phone, and this is what he wants.
I'm going to call him again. Seriously, there's 3 officers here already, and I'm waiting for supervisor.
You guys can go. You guys go. I'll wait here wait for Sarge or LT. Attempted to stop her on Phillips Road.
Yeah.
Going 55 and a 35.
Yeah.
Didn't see the plate. I was just keeping an eye on the vehicle because she wasn't stopping. Drove all the way here, pulled into her garage, got out, was just being aggressive towards me for no reason. I was being respectful, telling her this is a legal traffic stop, come to the back of the vehicle. No. Then she called chief, then that's why I requested a supervisor.
Okay.
And now she wanted to go inside, told her no, you can't go inside, and this is where we're at. So.
Well, you caused that, Senator. What do you want us to do? Not do our job because it's you?
No, it's fine. I said, write me a ticket.
That's not traffic. That's an arrestable offense. You know this.
717, I got nothing showing all set.
Why would you have to put it? Made it a bigger deal than it needed to be.
I didn't want to stop until it's right. I was right down the street. I figured I would just stop in my driveway.
I'm still rolling, so.
I mean, it's your traffic stop. I'm not going to tell you how to handle it. Do what you feel is necessary.
Like, I don't care just writing her the speeding ticket and being done with it, but technically it's an arrestable offense that she didn't stop.
Officer Crisafulli argues that Ms. Dorley's failure to pull over for the traffic stop was an arrestable offense. According to Section 270.25 of the New York Penal Law, quote, a person is guilty of unlawful fleeing a police officer in a motor vehicle in the third degree when, knowing that he or she has been directed to stop his or her motor vehicle by a uniformed police officer or a marked police vehicle by the activation of either the lights or the lights and siren of such vehicle, he or she thereafter attempts to flee such officer or such vehicle by driving at speeds which equal or exceed 25 miles per hour above the speed limit or engaging in reckless driving. Now, while Ms. Dorley did fail to pull over, she seems to have only been driving 20 miles per hour over the speed limit, not 25. And Officer Crisafulli makes no allegations that she was driving recklessly. Therefore, it seems probable that this criminal statute would not apply to her conduct. However, Section 1102 of the New York Vehicle and Traffic Law states that, quote, no person shall fail or refuse to comply with any lawful order or direction of any police officer or flag person or other person duly empowered to regulate traffic. The Second Department of the Appellate Division of the Supreme Court of New York held in the 2022 case of People v. Wall that the failure of a driver to pull over and stop after an officer had activated the emergency lights and siren of his patrol car did not constitute a violation of this statute because the officer did not give the driver any specific order or direction that he then disobeyed. However, it should also be noted that unlike most jurisdictions where the Supreme Court is the highest court of appeal, in New York, the appellate division of the Supreme Court is only an intermediate court of appeal, with the New York Court of Appeals being the highest court in the state. And other courts have decided that the failure to pull over for an initiated traffic stop does constitute a violation of Section 1102. For instance, in the 2024 case of Sposato v. Carey, the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of New York determined that Section 1102 prohibited drivers from refusing to pull over when a police officer activated his patrol vehicle's flashing lights. In reaching this conclusion, the court cited the 2005 case of U.S. v. Swindle, where the Second Circuit Court of Appeals stated that, quote, any reasonable driver would understand a flashing police light to be an order to pull over. Accordingly, it is possible that a court could find that Ms. Dorley failed to comply with Officer Crisafulli's lawful order to stop when she did not pull over for his flashing lights. Additionally, if a court determined that Ms. Dorley violated Section 1102 of the Vehicle and Traffic Law, which is a traffic infraction, it is almost certain that it would also conclude that Officer Crisafulli would be within his authority to arrest her. According to Section 140.10 of the New York Criminal Procedure Law, quote, a police officer may arrest a person for any offense when he or she has reasonable cause to believe that such person has committed such offense in his or her presence. Now, while the statute limits an officer's authority to arrest for a so-called petty offense, which according to Section 1.20 of the Criminal Procedure Law includes a traffic infraction, to the geographical area of the officer's employment, it is reasonable to presume that Officer Crisafulli was within the jurisdiction of his department. As such, it is likely that a court would conclude that Officer Crisafulli had at least arguable probable cause to arrest Ms. Dorley for her failure to comply with his attempted traffic stop.
What's
17 all set.
ticket? What are you going to do? It's your stop. I'm not going to interfere with that.
I get that she came home.
It
Just
makes
trying
no
to.
sense.
Yeah.
I explained that to her. It makes
Like,
no sense to come home.
she came home. She failed to stop. It's an arrestable offense. I'm not trying to arrest the DA of the county, but also I don't want to not do my job and not at least write her something.
No, I get it. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to.
I'll at least write her the freaking going 55 and a 20. I'm at least going to start the one ticket. All right, ma'am. So I'm issuing you speed in zone 55 and a 35.
That's fine. I'll take care of it since I'll be prosecuting myself.
Okay. If you see my lights and sirens behind you, and obviously they're going off, just pull over. We can have a conversation and be on our way. I kept my eye on your vehicle. I'm not going to check my computer to see what plate it is if a vehicle is not stopping for me. I want to keep my eyes on that vehicle for my safety, so I make it home at the end of the day. Okay?
I apologize, but
I'm sorry that you had a bad day,
yeah.
and I'm sorry it went this way, but I do respect what you do. Have a good day, man.
On April 28, 2024, just under a week after the encounter, District Attorney Dorley released a pre-recorded apology video. In her video statement, Ms. Dorley apologized for her behavior and stated that she had already pled guilty to the speeding violation and paid the fine. She also stated that she was referring the matter to a district attorney from another county for review and planned to self-report this incident to the New York Attorney Grievance Committee. Additionally, Ms. Dorley promised to take ethics training. In a statement also issued on April 28th, Governor Kathy Hochul stated that she had reported Ms. Dorley to the State Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct. Governor Hochul asserted that the body camera footage clearly showed Ms. Dorley, quote, claiming she is above the law, attempting to use her public office to evade responsibility, and acting unprofessionally towards a police officer simply trying to do his job, and that her behavior had, quote, undermined her ability to hold others accountable for violating the law. As of the date of writing this episode, the various investigations into Ms. Dorley's conduct are still pending. Overall, Officer Crisafulli gets a C+, because while he maintained a professional and respectful demeanor throughout the encounter, he also potentially violated the Fourth Amendment and demonstrated favoritism towards Ms. Dorley by not arresting her or even citing her for her failure to pull over. Now, although it is possible that Officer Crisafulli infringed on Ms. Dorley's Fourth Amendment rights by entering her garage, it is also possible that a court would find Ms. Dorley's attempted flight into her home and refusal to leave her garage gave him sufficient exigent circumstances to continue the traffic stop inside the garage. Additionally, while I am generally in support of officers exercising their discretion to avoid unnecessary arrests, Officer Crisafulli stated in the body camera footage that he did not want to arrest Ms. Dorley because she was the DA, indicating that he potentially would have arrested a regular citizen who had failed to pull over for a traffic stop. I understand that arresting the county district attorney would have been complicated for Officer Crisafulli. However, it is critical for officers to hold the citizens tasked with enforcing the laws accountable for their illegal actions. And while I commend Officer Crisafulli for still issuing Ms. Dorley a speeding ticket, I question whether an individual who was not a district attorney who engaged in the same behavior would not have been arrested or at least cited for refusing to pull over for a traffic stop. District Attorney Dorley gets an F for demonstrating a flagrant disregard for both traffic laws and Officer Crisafulli's authority, implying that she would use her position to avoid responsibility for the speeding ticket, and maintaining a hostile and unprofessional demeanor throughout the encounter. While I understand that she was dealing with multiple homicides in her position as district attorney, the difficulties of a demanding career are no excuse for speeding, let alone refusing to pull over for a traffic stop and berating a police officer. And although I appreciate Ms. Dorley's apology, her conduct during this stop leads me to suspect that she believes that she is above the law because she's the county district attorney. Ms. Dorley repeatedly stated during the traffic stop that she did not care that she was speeding. And while speeding is certainly a far less serious offense than homicide, it is essential that the public servants responsible for upholding the law show respect for every facet of it and take every step possible to comply with it themselves. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.